Hello everyone, I am back again, and today, as you saw in the title, I am making a game library. Now this is not the first game library I've ever made, and it won't be the last, probably. I just want this to be a short video, and this will be the first episode. So we're just going to make like a basic system, and you can create like squares. So I'm just keeping the same name for my library. I'll put in the description a link to the repository, and you can see the older versions of this library. I'm not very proud of them. They had some shaky parts. So first we're going to make an anonymous function. So all like our extra functions and classes can all be, like all that messy stuff will be contained within here. So the developer will only have this nice object with a bunch of different classes and functions they can use. So we'll have like a game class, obviously, and then our constructor, and we can destructure parts of it here, and we'll make a scene class. Actually, you know what? I'll just copy this. And we can return these. And actually, the element class, so like people can extend the element class, make their own custom elements. We will be making different types of elements, like text elements, button elements, stuff like that, just to make things easier so you don't have to, so like it's reusable. So obviously in a constructor, we need the element, and the element will be the canvas. Everything will be done on the canvas. So we can go ahead and add our element in here. So you make your game, then inside the object you can pass in the element. We document get element by ID, and we give it the element ID of game, and we'll have something like game.init to start, and like game.scene. So in that function you'd like pass into scene. We'll have scene 1 here, which I'll create right now, and we can pass in some information there when we're ready. So the game will start with this scene 1 here, and then we'll initiate it, and that will you'll see once I start working on it. And then we'll have default things here. Actually, I'll put them here. So you could not pass them an element, and it will automatically create a canvas element. Okay, so the element will be private, which means you can't do game.element because it's private. But we'll make a get method so you can get the element. So you can't change the element. I'll have some more functions here. We'll have play, and we'll have pause. I'll put our private ones up here. We'll call this a loop. We don't want anyone to have access to this. This only needs to be used inside of it. And we'll have the time in here. We might not need that, but it's there just in case. And for our init, we will do request animation frame. So it will start the animation, and we can constantly have a loop. And we'll also have a render function. And now that we have our element in here, we'll have the context. Context is also null, and then this dot context is equal to get context. And so here we can we'll pull out our context here, and we'll also pull out we'll pull out some things in a second that we also need. For example, obviously we need to render here, and what we will do, well, we need a width and height for the game, so you'll have to pass that in. And I'm going to spread this out. And the default will be the normal size of it, will be the default size of a canvas, which is 300 by 100. And we'll pull those out here too. And then we'll also pull out the color. The color will be the background color, but since there's only one color, I'm just going to call it color. So the default color will be transparent, since there usually is no background color for canvas by default. And now what we'll do is draw the background color, because that's a simple thing to do. So we have some stuff passed in here. We'll keep the width and height the same, but we will set a color just so we can actually tell that the game is rendering. Context.fill rect, and we'll start at the 0 coordinate 0, 0, which is the top left corner, and we'll do it width and height obviously, if we change the width and height of the game, the canvas's width and height should also change. We can just do it this way. Okay, so now we can see that it's rendering okay. And we can change the color. So now we have this part done, and you can set a background. Okay, so now let's do the scene thing here. So the scene is going to be private. I guess there really is no point on having the scene as private here, and you'll just act like this. We don't need a function for it. We'll do it like that. Okay, so our rendering function is done, and we don't need to clear the canvas every frame like we would normally do because it's automatically setting the width and height again, which resets the canvas anyway. If this set scene instance of scene, so if it's an instance of the scene, we can just do scene. Okay, so in the scene, so the scene can also have its own width and height, and that will be like the size of the map itself. And in the looping function, oh, actually let's just do this first. In our looping function here, so we'll have basically the same things, and the render function here will pass in the game. Okay, so what we'll do here, and we can console, like, we can log the game. Ooh, I did game, not game. Dot color. Ooh, we have to log that. If I can type today, which I can't. And it is looping through. Now we have access to our game here. So now we can start some other things. Okay. So, in our loop, actually first here we'll have layers. Okay, so, and in here we can, first we have our render, which will also loop through all our things, but, so the layers will be looped through in order that you put them in. So we can do this dot layers because we forget thing now. That map. Now we have each of our now we have each of our layers in here. So they're going to be rendered in order, but then they're going to be updated or looped through in reverse order. And actually, this should be here as well. Okay, so layer. Okay, and our layer, all their layer stuff is going to be handled here. Before, we used to have a class for the layer, but there's really no point. Let's render our attribute. Now we can start doing stuff for our elements, but first, so the layer will be set up kind of like this. Okay, so we'll have an elements thing here, and that will be an array of element classes. But we also have some other attributes here. And I like this idea instead of having them as a class because there's really no reason. I might change it later, but for now it will stay like that. So now we'll pull out some stuff. So this is rendering. We'll put a comment here. Element is instant of element. So that way we make sure it's actually an element before we start messing around with it. And then element.render, and then we can have our elements here, except element.update, and we'll have our game and our scene in here, and of course background. And now we'll have all that stuff in here. So we have update, which will be a public thing, and then now we can start doing this stuff. Context.fill style is equal to pull out our stuff here. So the background context.fill rect x y with height. Okay, no errors, good. Okay, now let's start with this stuff. Elements. Okay. IG. We'll call it A, actually. And actually, we'll set our width and height to like. Okay, you see now our element is working. So, how's he doing? Okay, background, blue, and we'll have B here, background of yellow. And you see, now we have our elements around here. We can do all sorts of little stuff, and I think that is a nice place to stop for the game today. And I will post a new video soon, and we can work on some other stuff like adding text, buttons, maybe more advanced stuff like touch events, dragging, dropping, and other things. But that's for next time. Oh, and of course, animations and movement. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, or you're interested in this, just you could a subscribe would be nice. Or if you aren't ready to do that, well, at least like the video to show that some people have enjoyed this video I put out. And you can comment suggestions or things I could improve on to make my content more interesting or appealing to you. And yeah, bye.